Yeah, yeah.
All right, welcome back to the VA podcast. I am with Mitch Schneider, Northeast Regional Sales Manager.
That's right.
For Club Champion Golf, and Mitch is in town visiting. Man, how many days? 3 days?
I was here for 3 days. Yeah.
3 days?
Yeah, good little long weekend.
With the new baby and
Yeah.
With your dad and hanging out.
Yeah. I brought the wife and the kid down. So Mallory's almost 1 year old now, and it's a nice little escape. My dad just retired to Pinehurst. His lifelong
beat that.
dream. So yeah.
So we went out and played 18 holes yesterday, and kind of hacked it.
So we played Forest Creek yesterday.
Yeah, that was a good time. Man, you're playing that Nemesis yesterday.
I was.
on your backup set that you brought down.
Yeah.
So you're going to keep a backup set down here?
I am going to keep backup set down here.
Yeah. That makes it a lot easier to have it that way as opposed to carry clubs back and forth all the time.
That's true. I mean, so the Nemesis is great, right? Just a little bit higher ball flight than I'm looking for, and the Sinister CB that you sent me is just dialing it down a little bit more. So that's going in the gamer. Nemesis is coming down here. That way I can still rep you when I'm down here, which is good. So
Club Champion is by far our biggest customer and a really good business partner. And Mitch lived in Charlotte and was a fitter in Charlotte for quite a while there.
That's right.
And so we got to hang out and have some cocktails and eat some great steak in Charlotte.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, one time you took me out for steak, and I ordered my steak, and you decided you didn't even want a steak, and you made fun of me the entire dinner for eating when you weren't eating. So that was always fun. Every time the waitress walked by.
It could have been because I looked at the prices.
That could have been that. And then I ordered the porterhouse for $4 and housed the whole thing. And you're like, fuck, there goes everything.
It's always you skinny guys that could eat
the most steak.
We
can put them down, man. That's crazy. Yeah.
So, but anyhow, we just wanted to talk a little bit about custom fitting.
Yeah.
And like I said, I always like to talk a little bit and from a different perspective. I know Nick, we have Nick on the channel quite a bit. Yeah. And we seem to get a little bit redundant on what we talk about there. So hopefully this gives a little new perspective, a little bit different perspective on custom fitting and what to expect. So I mean, just kind of, we don't have to go through every step, but for the viewer out there that is thinking about getting custom fit. Mm-hmm. And Nick and I just talked about this the other day. We did a podcast and we were just talking that there's so many people out there that are that are members at clubs and spend a lot of money and they're out there 4 or 5 days a week. And in fact, I played with somebody today like that. And I looked at his shaft and I'm like, did you get fit for this? And he's like, no, I saw an infomercial and saw 3 dots on it, and I figured that fit me.
Yeah.
So
doesn't make much sense.
Kudos to that shaft company for the infomercial.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's not really the way we like to do things. Nope. And so back to somebody's thinking about getting custom fit. Why should they get custom fit?
Because it's really the only way to know that you're actually spending your money wisely. That shaft is the engine of the golf club, and if you invest properly in that engine, you can use it for 3, 5, 7 years. I mean, the previous shaft that I was using before I put the Sinister CB in there, it lasted me 5 years. I put 3 different driver heads, maybe even 4 different driver heads on that shaft, and I only had to buy that $400 and whatever shaft once. So that's really the investment. The club head's kind of like tires; they're going to wear out over time. But obviously get the one that performs the best for you. But over time, the shaft will maintain, and you have a really good opportunity of reusing it.
But you do know that shafts you can only hit them like 100 times, and then you need to really replace them because they start to degrade.
That's right. Yeah. So every 100 shots you hit with one of VA shafts, you got to get a new one.
Yeah, got to get a new one.
Yeah, I've heard that before. No,
not really.
Not really at all. But
yeah,
I think that'd be good for business.
But I will. Yeah, exactly. As every year, new heads come out.
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And you go in and you get fit, or you maybe you just bought it stock, and you come in and you get fit. Don't you think that a lot of times the loft might be different, the weight of the head might be different. You could have gone from a Callaway to a Ping, and the Ping head's a little bit more, is a little heavier.
Yeah.
And you try and take the same shaft that you love and you hit in your previous driver, and you take it out and you put it in the new driver. So talk to me about that.
Yeah, so it's a little bit different when you're going from different manufacturer to different manufacturer when you talk about head, right? Trying to maintain the same shaft.
Right.
You're typically going to be around the same swing weight because that's just what worked really well for you for that shaft, got it to bend the right way for you as well in terms of soft, or in terms of flex rather.
Yep.
But no, for example, like the TSI driver, I played an 11-degree driver for the TSI. Now, I was swinging a little bit different back then. Went to a 10-degree driver for the TSR 3, and then I went from the 3 to the GT2, and now I'm hitting an 8-degree, right? But I'm using a similar shaft, right? This year I'm in the Sinister CB. Before that, I was in a different shaft. And even though I was in that same shaft for the TSI and the TSR head, I had to move down in loft because the head construction was different. So you still want to come back in and get fit for that new head. But I was really nice to know that shaft was still great for me.
Yeah. But it is kind of hit or miss, though.
It is. It can be hit or miss.
Hopefully, I mean, if it's a $450 shaft or whatever it may be, that shaft is going to fit with that new head. But and maybe it will, and maybe you have to make adjustments to the head, maybe make it a little bit heavier, a little bit lighter, change the weights around, whatever.
It's easier to get it to match up when you're in the same manufacturer, right? Because typically the head constructions are pretty similar from one generation to the next. They're a little bit different, right? But yeah, you go from like a Ping, like a Titleist to a Ping. I'm adding a lot of spin in most cases going to that Ping driver from a Titleist driver, at least what I've seen from fitting. And it's a significant enough amount where I might be in a different shaft altogether, and I can't control it with just loft at that point. No.
Let's talk about irons and graphite and iron shaft, and I said graphite iron shafts in irons.
Yes.
What are you looking at when you're fitting the proper shaft in an iron?
Yeah. Well, I want to talk to the client first and figure out if there's any injuries in the past. Like I play graphite iron shafts now, mainly because I've got some neck and shoulder issues, and it really helps me to play golf pain-free, and I think we all want that. But it can help with vibration dampening going into graphite. It can help with arthritis, all that good stuff. So that's nice. Does it perform well? There's so many new graphite iron shafts out there that there's something for everyone. And if you still have the ego against going to a graphite iron shaft, you're really missing out. If they can handle Bryson's swing, they can handle your 90 mile an hour iron club head speed.
Yeah, and I think that's just it's just a stigma. I mean, I've been in the industry, a really long time, almost 40 years now, and we have for the last 25 years thought that graphite in irons was finally going to be a thing. I mean, like you don't find any fairway woods or drivers that have steel shafts in them, basically.
No, not anymore.
Yeah, 99.9%.
Yeah, that's very rare.
And so, why hasn't it, that's a bad question, because graphite has really picked up a lot in irons.
It has.
And I know, we went from really a majority of our shafts were wood shafts, and now we're selling a lot of iron shafts. And
heck, you're selling a lot of putter shafts now.
And a lot of putter shafts. Yeah. And a lot of hybrids.
Yeah.
And so there's, it's not, I think, I'm a little biased because, we're all graphite. I think that the ball tends to go typically higher, and it tends to go further. Like every time I change something, I have to dial it back a little bit because I want my 8 iron going 155. I don't want it. Yeah. I don't want it 170 or anything like that.
Fair enough.
So, is it? I mean, how do you feel about? I mean, are the majority? Are you fitting more graphite now in irons?
I really am. I'm seeing a pretty big shift just in the last couple of years with more competitors that are coming out with more graphite iron shaft lines, right? And you guys have had, I think one of your first that you brought to market was the Regine, right?
Yep, you're right. Correct.
Yeah, so and which was a great iron shaft that was graphite, and I'm playing a competitor's graphite iron shaft right now. But the Sinister, just before I came up here, I was testing that in a mock fitting with one of my newer fitters. And the Sinister outperformed it, so I'm going to be changing to that this year, which is great. Not just saying that. I know. But I'm not just saying that because you're standing next to me, Vic, but it really did perform well. Now, one thing that I think the consumer out there should know is that from what I've seen in fitting, there's a typical trend that you see, and what I mean by that is in terms of weight. If I'm playing a 115 gram steel iron shaft, I can play a 105, 110 gram graphite shaft pretty easily. You can drop 5 or 10 grams and keep that tensile strength in the shaft and be able to still make that a very stiff shaft because graphite's stronger than steel.
Yeah, well, we can do. I mean, it could be weaker, it could be stronger.
Yes, depending on how you weave it.
Yeah, depends on what shaft you're talking about. But there is a very different feel between steel, to me personally, and graphite, and steel being more the weight is concentrated from the top to the bottom very evenly, and in graphite we can tend to move the weight around in the shaft so that the balance point might be a little bit more appropriate for the particular golfer you're trying to fit.
Exactly, and kind of just to kind of rephrase what I was getting at a second ago, it's more or less that you can be in a lighter shaft and be stiffer, right? Still than that steel counterpart. So I find that that's pretty consistent. So like there's the NS Pro Tour 115, right?
Great shaft.
Yeah, it's a great shaft. I think it's I fit into the X with that. It's 115 grams, right? That's the best steel shaft for me right now. I've played LZ in the past before I had injuries and stuff, but right now that I can't play anything lighter than 115 in steel. But I can play 105, I can play 110 in graphite, and it really helps me to play pain-free. Because I go to the chiropractor weekly. I do a lot of therapy on my neck, and I feel like I'm 80 years old sometimes when it comes to my neck. So it's nice to play pain-free, and it definitely gives me more pop. My smash factor with my 6 iron specifically is what we do testing with at Club Champion. With the Sinister 110, it was 141. With the Nippon shaft, it was 139, 140, depending on the day. So I was getting a little bit more pop out of it, but I was also swinging a mile an hour faster because we dropped that weight. So I was able to get my carry distance for that 6 iron back up to that 190, 195 when I'm playing well. I'm not playing well, so it's closer to 190 right now. And so it allowed me to maintain instead of have to lose that and adjust. You don't want to go more than 155 for your 8 iron. I don't really want to drop my 6 iron down. Some of that's a little bit of vanity because I used to hit it that far and I want to stay there. But I'm used to that. I don't want to change my game or have to really relearn all my yardages. So if I can maintain that, that's great. I don't need to go and hit it 205 now. But if I can maintain that with a new shaft, even though I'm swinging a little slower than I used to, very, very, very big for my game.
And the cool thing about Club Champion is, they use they use TrackMan ball flight monitors, but it's great to have that data, but it's even more important for a good fitter to be able to read that data, look at a swing, figure out how much the guy's loading in, or if he's not loading in, how fast he's swinging, all that good stuff. And the thing that I like about what you guys do is, when a new fitter comes on board, even though they might have had experience before, you bring them up to Willowbrook in Chicago, and they are trained for an entire month on every aspect of fitting and the paperwork and everything else that goes along with that particular job. Yeah. And that's invaluable to making sure that our shafts are being fit properly. And and if it's not our shaft, it's not our shaft, but at least you guys have all the equipment and knowledge to get that fit correctly.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm brand agnostic. I want what works best for that client. I'm a big Titleist guy. I'm a big VA guy, right? Sell a ton of Callaway, sell a ton of Ping. I still sell, your competitors, right? And it's just very important to make sure that you go through that fitting. And yes, I think it's an art of being able to tell the data as a story on how it's going to help you play better golf. And I think that's huge, right?
Right.
Spending that 4 weeks, that whole month up there in CCU is very important. What we do, in fact, all the regions do this, but specifically in the Northeast, either myself, my regional field trainer, which we invest an entire regional position as a field trainer that travels around for the Northeast. There's one in each region, right, to forward that education, forward that training.
Right.
So either Alex Walk or myself, or the area sales manager will get out and for that first week that fitter is in studio and continue the training, right, and do some on the job. Hey, now you're in your store. Here's how it's slightly different than how Willowbrook runs, just with all of our operations being up there, right? So I think that's been really great that we're able to do that and make sure that we're doing this really well. Because we want to make sure that we're doing right by the consumer. We have our perfect fit guarantee to make sure that you as a consumer know that you're putting your dollars in good hands and that we want to stand behind it.
Yeah, and and a lot of it too is, I have friends that ask me, it's like, hey, I want to go get fit. What do I get? What should I get? And a lot of that is when you look down at your irons, what looks good, or when you look down at your driver, the shape of that head, what looks good and what doesn't look good. So, you can go in there and kind of narrow it down to like, okay, he likes Titleist, he likes Callaway, or whatever it may be. And then you're gonna like take that and at least get that into the fittings and make sure that the numbers are gonna meet the right performance factors. No,
100%. Confidence, being able to say, hey, I look down at this, I can hit it. That's very important, right? Some people want something that's a little bit of a bigger iron head. Some people want something smaller, right? I don't want a butter knife anymore, but I want something that looks compact. Undercover, technology, if you will, right? And that's the kind of look that I like. You give me something too big, I'm like, I feel like that thing is going to go left all day long, because that's my experience I've had with more forgiving irons in the past.
Yeah.
And with driver heads, I love this year's TaylorMade driver. I really do. They sent me one to play around with, and I really enjoyed that. The QI35 is phenomenal. It's the best driver they've made in a long time. But historically, I haven't liked the look of TaylorMade drivers. I've always disliked the Callaway drivers until the AI Paradigm last year. The Elite's solid this year too. But I never wanted to play those drivers that didn't look good. And the results on screen never performed really well. Were they great drivers? Absolutely. But I didn't like the look of them. It went into the numbers that I didn't like the look of them as well. So you got to like that. You got to have that confidence looking down at it. Kind of like a putter.
If somebody's watching and like, man, I just keep hooking the hell out of my driver, and maybe I don't want to spend $1,200 for an entire new driver. I mean, can they come in and basically get retrofit?
Yeah.
And I mean, can you take a look at what they have? The driver. Okay, let's take away. It's probably a lot of swing issues, is my guess. But if the swing issue is going to be consistent,
yes,
can you do things to that driver that's going to help eliminate those bad hooks or bad slices or whatever?
You can stabilize it a lot. I mean, I got to hand you good stuff and bad stuff to find the right stuff in a fitting. Data makes great decisions, feel validates, and then time only adds doubt or concern. We're doing the research right in front of you, right there. You're trying it, right? And we're going to build it the exact same way. And here's the thing: is we can do shaft only. Let's order up a new adapter. You can rebuild with a used adapter, but it's just not as good of a build. I want the build to be great, right? So let's get a new adapter. Let's get a grip. Let's weigh your head, or at least know what model head you have, so we can get that swing weight right and plug and play, right? And I will say 80% of the performance, in my opinion, especially in a driver, is the shaft. I can optimize ball flight a little bit more with the head than I can with the shaft, with loft and CG and all that stuff. But the shaft really is that driver, that engine, and being able to isolate that is really big. So even if you're like, hey, I don't want to do a full new driver, maybe I feel like I've got a good shaft or I feel like I've got a good head, we can do one or the other. And then once you dial in that shaft, that's the investment. It lasts a lot longer. So very important. And if you come in thinking, hey, I got a hook, one of the first things I'm probably going to try is a nemesis in there, because that counterbalancing can sometimes stabilize that. Now, I am prone to hook. I play a nemesis. It does the opposite for me. In some aspects, right? I can block it out there sometimes because it almost overdoes it. So you have to look at it from both sides, and there's always a point of diminishing returns with too much or not enough. Right. In terms of weight, in terms of flex, in terms of bend profile, right? You can go into a fit thinking they need a low launch shaft. You come out there in a high launch shaft because that's what performed really well. Sure. And over time, you're retesting that shaft. So you validate it throughout that fit.
So, if somebody, obviously they do drivers, they do hybrids, they do irons and putters. Mm-hmm. Is it difficult to try and get an entire bag in a day, in one day?
A full bag fitting?
Yeah.
No, not really. Obviously, the X factor is the client. Sometimes, if I were coming in, with some issues that I have, depending on how quickly we got the results, I may or may not be able to get through it. But typically speaking, you're able to get through it. I'd say 90+% of the time, you're getting through that full bag. I'm trying to keep the pitch count, so to speak, and how many shots you're hitting below 200. That's kind of the secret sauce. And then, how I break down that fit is important to make sure we're using our brakes wisely, so we're not, going through driver 3-wood hybrid all in a row. And then you're just gas, and I can't get anything out of irons or wedges for you, right? So try to space it out the right way. 3 to 4 shots per combination.
Inside compared to inside fitting, I know the majority of your locations are inside compared to outside. What are your thoughts on that?
I want to keep all the variables constant and consistent, right? And if we're outside, we see that wind. I mean, it can put some thoughts into the player's head, right? Like when I got fit down at Sea Island back when I was 17 years old, before there was a club champion in Charlotte. I think that club champion opened up 2018, so I missed it by a year. And I went down there and I got fit. And I kept seeing that wind, and it was hard for me to trust that it was actually going straight and it wasn't hooking because it was way off the right side. I hate going left, and that's all I was seeing that day. Mm-hmm. So being able to just
that's an interesting point.
Standardize all of the conditions inside is something where I know that I can just isolate those variables. I know it's exactly what it is. And here's the great thing is most people are more consistent than they give themselves credit for. It's where is their timing that day. Right. Their swing is their swing, typically speaking. And the more you play, the more consistent you get with the timing of face to path, the consistency of your path and consistency of attack angle. But you're not going to go from hitting up on it, and then 6 months later, hitting crazy down on it, right? Yeah. You might fluctuate a little bit of how far you're hitting up on it or how much you're hitting up on it in attack angle. Or your club path might be a little bit less from the inside than it was. But it's typically not flipping. Mm-hmm. And that's the biggest thing, right? Is you get in there, man, I'm flipping my hands over all the time. Well, I got to hand you something you don't flip as much, or at least that you're more consistent at how much you flip. Yeah,
So there are just a ton of different ways to help improve your game through better technology, newer shafts, by getting custom fit, hopefully a club champion. Yeah. And I just totally recommend. If you're gonna be playing a lot of golf, get custom fit. Yeah. Spend the money in the right place. It's going to make your game and your life much more enjoyable.
That's right.
By doing it that way. So if somebody wants to get custom fit, how do you go about that? I know you've got your website and you go online. You can do it online.
You can do it online. You can look us up on Google, and it'll go to our customer experience team. Walk into one of our stores. We're happy to get you booked up right then. If we're working with a client, please bear with us. We're going to pay them for our time. But having said that, just to give you one last great compliment for VA, you really do have a shaft that fits every single player. Yeah. And look, I know that most shaft companies are trying to do that, but yours really hits the nail on the head. So when you go in for that fitting, and again, hopefully with Club Champion, right? Ask for VA because there's really something for everybody. And what's really cool about all of your shafts is you don't just kind of cave to the normal you know, you go against the grain in terms of what the shafts look like.
Yeah,
You have
yeah,
some
for
really
sure.
cool designs. Like
For sure.
really,
I don't know if you can see them up there, but, that's one thing we try and be a little bit different with cosmetics.
Heather does a great job. I know you don't have your hands in on that. So.
Yeah, I've been fired for that job.
I don't blame her.
But man, thanks for coming in. It's good to have you here in Pinehurst. Hopefully you'll come back and visit, and we can do some more video, some more content.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks for hosting me,
brother.
Vic. It was
Thanks,
a pleasure.
man.
Yeah,
All
a lot
right.
of fun.